Hello Internet, this is Dakian again on another Monday for another Miniatures Ramble. This Monday is the 27th of January 2020. We've almost put a whole month in the history books for this new year. Time really flies. Anyway, I've completed, as you can see in the front row, the 3 minis that were left over from last week. We have just the girl with the, what I realized is a kind of a creepy doll. She's holding a Cthulhu doll. That's a creepy, cuddly Cthulhu. So I thought it was a nice contrast to make her as innocent looking as possible. Don't know if you can tell, but there's a, yeah. And then we have a little archer girl. Nothing special about her, just some basic paint jobs. And then there's Alice with the Cheshire Cat, which I painted in the striped fashion that is in the movie by Disney. The face came out a bit darker than I had perhaps intended. Oh well, these things happen. The face of the cat, I mean. But otherwise, I think she's okay. And then I did these Pathfinder minis. There we have a bit better focus, and the barbarian in the artwork, some of the feathers on him are kind of orange as well, but I thought that threw the color balance off. I wanted that just gray to balance all the bright colors, because he's very tan, very orangey skin, and then the red is already on his outfit, so I wanted something neutral to not have it be so bright, right? And the elf Shalelu, she's not very bright at all. She's in very muted colors, as befits a ranger. The bright spots are her hair and a little bit the skin. But, you know, she's supposed to be camouflaged. And then we have Ameku. It's really difficult to paint a white stripe in black hair, which she's supposed to have, but I think I sort of managed it. The quilted armor, I don't know how well the pattern comes across. It looks okay on to the naked eye. And she has a lot of little pieces of equipment that it's difficult to tell what they are, so I just sort of put some random colors in there. And you know, it's just visual complexity for the sake of complexity. It's not that you're supposed to actually look at it and realize what it is. Yeah, and the reason I put her on this plank base is that her job, the NPC's job, is that she's an innkeeper. Now this looks like a really busted up inn. It looks more like a ruined ship deck or something, but it's what I had that wasn't just completely boring. I mean, I can make a flat wood plank base with one of my stamps, of course, and some green stuff, but it's not as interesting to look at. So for an important NPC like this, I wanted a base that was a bit more, stood out a bit more. And so I let the narrative concerns take second place. Anyway, that was the characters. Let's see what else. I also painted a bunch of monsters. Now the simple ones are these attic whispers, as they're called, which are weird little skeletons, maybe dog-headed, in some rags and carrying dolls. I differentiated them a little bit by painting the dolls slightly different colors. And then we have the two Sin Spawn, which I forgot to differentiate at all. I could have, painted their loincloths different colors, perhaps. I tried to follow the artwork. I'm not sure how it works. I occasionally try to go for a lot of artists paint monsters and the like painting them with black claws and teeth, which is very difficult to make work. in a miniature, but I try occasionally, and I made this a new attempt here. So the claws are like a dark gray shaded with black. Otherwise, they're really basic, simple creatures. They have this strange mouth that splits open and a long tongue comes out. It's kind of dark, but I hope you can see it. And finally, I painted the crab man or crab person. I don't know if they have a gender. Just basic crab colors, very orangey, sort of reddish. I left the carapace kind of shiny because I thought, you know, that looked cooler. It has little barnacles on his back. And in no, the eyes, I mean, realistically, they would just be black, but I wanted something to pop and a contrasting color. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It's just a simple Bones mini, but I think it came out very effectively. So, that's all the completed stuff. And here's the new batch of minis I've prepped for painting this week. We have the humans and demi-humans up front here. We have Tutu Kaijutsu, sort of perched on this wooden base. We have Lyria Kenya here, and a sort of dungeon base, and this guy, whose name I forget. This is actually the first time, I think, that I've done this. But this guy came with an integral base, and what I usually do is I just glue that onto a plastic base, cover up the difference with some sort of putty, and slather some basing grit all over it, and paint it. And just hide the spaghetti base. This time I actually cut and sawed and filed that off to put him on a different base. I believe it's the first time in history I've ever bothered to actually do that. And this is the reason why he looks like he's wearing moon boots, because filing, it looks like he has really thick soles on his boots. That's the remnants of the original base that I just couldn't be bothered to file all the way down. That would have taken forever. There was no way to cut it. I would have had to file it. But, you know, if he's standing a little taller, he has a little bit of a platform shoe thing going on, I don't think anybody will notice that. So I just, you know, filed along the sides to smooth them out and then pinned him to this new base, resin base. And then we have the monsters, the huge giant rhino beetle. We have the flail snail, where I stamped the pattern on a base because it didn't have a built-in base, so I made a base for it. This is an oval base from somewhere that I put some putty on and stamped this stone pattern on it, and then I primed the whole thing. And finally the tool. The tricky thing here was the right claw, the one that sticks out a lot, that was separate. Everything else had been pre-assembled. That one had not. And there was no, it was kind of odd. There was a completely smooth surface where they were supposed to go together. It was not prepared for it's not like most of the bones have like sockets and plugs and stuff where so they fit together really well. I actually had to pin this one. But that's okay. That works too. Just a little bit more work. Yeah, and the reason I've prepped so few models is that this upcoming week I have basically no time to paint at all. I've got tonight at the game store, and then every other evening this week is busy for me with something else. I'm gonna get a little time in the weekend before next Monday to paint as well. So I just don't know how much will get done. And that's why I was careful with how much I prepped. I mean, if things should work out really well, if I should come up with a way of speed painting these so they go really quickly, I might need more projects, but then I'll just, start some of next week's projects early. That's not an issue. It'll get done. And speaking of next week's projects, let's look some stats and then go over to that. There's not any new stuff to show you this week because while I do know that I've got a package on the way from Hassle-Free, I got a shipping notice for it, it seems to be on the slow boat from the UK. So it's been a little over 2 weeks now. But this is not abnormal. It can take up to a month actually for something to get here from the UK if they go with the cheapest postage. So, in the meantime, I thought I would just continue painting my Reaper haul here. And for next week's Game Store Monday painting session, I'm going to do some more of the Rise of the Runelords minis. This package contains two guys, Nualia and Illyrium. Nualia is the lady with the sword here. She's the big boss, main baddie of the first adventure, and Illyrium, I think it's Irilium, but anyway, it's hard to see, but it's a Quasit. It's not actually her familiar. It's like a kind of free-willed Quasit that's hanging out in the dungeon. It's unusually large for a Quasit, but it has to do with this abandoned old temple to some sort of evil people, as far as I can recall. Anyway, so that's two minis, and the third is the Skin Saw Man, which is one of the main bads of the second adventure, I believe. So that's 3 minis, which is enough for a Monday evening. I usually can't get through more than that unless they're really simple speed paint jobs. Speaking of which, for painting at home, I thought I'd do all these 4 Skin Saw cultists, and so I'm adding more miniatures than this week because I think I'll have a little more time next week, and also because these are all identical. They have the same color schemes at least, though I think maybe I'm going to want to differentiate them just a tiny little bit, just to, so you can tell them apart on the table. But also I want to continue chipping away at the Bones 4 stash. So what I'm looking at is this ogre, undead juggernaut thingy. And you might be wondering, didn't I just paint one of these? Yes, I actually got a copy of this as a bonus mini at one point last year. But this is the one that came with the Bones package. So, to make it more interesting and to differentiate it from the previous one, what I thought I would do was do a head swap. See, this is the head that comes with it. It's sort of a skull head, which is odd because it doesn't. The arms and legs and whatever don't look skeletal. So I looked around for other heads in my bits box, and I found this little bag of sorted demon bits, and we have a few heads here. 2 of which are the same. One has more branches to it, and looking at it, I think one of these fits the best. I think this one, with a bit of putty work, I can sort of make this look good. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to go with, and so I'll paint the armor a different color. I think I went with some sort of bronze or brass with the last one, didn't I? So let's go with normal steel, maybe colored steel. Maybe because this is demon head, maybe put a red tinge to the armor as well. Maybe. I'll think about it, and we'll see. But anyway, that is the stuff I'm going to start working on for next week. But that was all this episode. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Comment about which models you particularly enjoyed. And see you again in a week. Same day, same channel, same Dakian. But for now, I'm signing off.